Why are girls not being correctly diagnosed with ADHD? Why does this go missing in girls? Truth be told, when they first made ADHD a diagnosis back in the late 70s, they only studied boys. That's it. And boys present ADHD symptoms radically different compared to girls. The symptoms are different, the way it shows up is different. And man, it made my life so much harder because it was missed when I was younger. I want each and every person to hear what these distinctive differences are and what detrimental effect it can have on you long term. ADHD has physical symptoms that you see on the surface. Typically, boys show those: jumping around, being physical, being busy, talking a lot. It is a constant interruption and chaos. But girls don't do those things. Girls take those key differences internal, and that is why girls are not being diagnosed correctly, because it's not in the same way a boy would present his symptoms. When a boy has ADHD, they have symptoms that appear on the surface: impulsive behavior, fidgeting, getting distracted, being very physical, and their inability to concentrate or sit still. In girls, it's completely the opposite. Hers are all internal. We are restless, we daydream, and we are very hard on ourselves. We forget, we're disorganized, and start to aim it all at ourselves and see ourselves as not good enough or not as good as others around us. As a girl with ADHD, instead of being hyperactive, you daydream. Instead of being restless, you are just disorganized. You are very hard on yourself. Sometimes you make careless mistakes. You might be called a tomboy. I can clearly remember that this was one of the first things I thought of when I started doing the research, is how often I was called a tomboy. This is why I was upset, because this is what happened to me. You sit in a boardroom or a classroom and you see all your peers turning things in on time, staying organized, responding to emails. Everything they do is done according to a schedule. Then you go back to your desk and you look at their environments, generally minimalistic, and your desk is a mess. There is just so much crap stacked everywhere on your table. You start to think, look, as a person, there must be something wrong with me. Something in my character makes me less than those around me. You start to think there's something wrong with you. So you turn it back on yourself. You feel that you are not enough. You feel that you constantly have to mask because you can't show that you are not as good as your peers. It gets missed in girls because girls put that mask on. And all the negative impact turns to internal hurt and negative self-talk. Girls are not sitting here bouncing our legs and jumping around. The key difference between boys and girls is that boys present much earlier, typically around the age of 7. Girls present later on. On average, I think they estimate about 12 to 13. There's a big difference between girls and boys. Boys can't hide it. They show it. It's as if they wear a t-shirt saying ADHD present. They're physical. They're fidgeting. They're frustrated. They just have those physical outbursts. Girls are excellent at hiding this. Why? Because we feel the pressure to conform and act in a certain way to fit into the model society expects of us. We feel like something's wrong with us all the time. We do our best to cope and seem as if we are able to do all of these things expected of us. We do our best to see what everyone around us is doing, and we try and mimic that or compensate even more because it works for them. What is wrong with me? I need to work harder. That's when we feel we are not good enough. that everybody else seems to get it, but I don't get it and I need to hide it. There is something I learned when I looked into the research, and it scared me. It really, really scared me. And I could relate, and that's what made it more scary. But typically, if you look at a boy, they tend to get better over time. Girls get worse because it goes from daydreaming or following instructions not working out the way it should, making careless mistakes, being forgetful. It's a chronic struggle. It turns into, I think there's something seriously wrong with me, or I'm just stupid. Why can't I get this? I'm a mess. There is something wrong with me. I am not as clever as everybody around me. Am I just dumb? I just pretend that I can do some things? A profound correlation between anxiety and depression happens. Eating disorders, suicidal thoughts. Women with ADHD face the feeling of being overwhelmed and exhausted the same way that men do. However, women increasingly have psychological distress. We feel inadequate. We have chronic stress. Everything feels like it's chaos and out of control. We have low self-esteem. The daily tasks start to seem impossibly huge. There is a doctor that wrote a book by the name of Understanding Girls with ADHD. Dr. Littman. It's a profound book, and it opened my eyes to so many things I didn't know about ADHD. She stated the outcomes for girls are horrendously negative compared to boys. It's dramatically different in girls as they get older. Anxiety, depression turns into low self-esteem and self-loathing. That happened to me. I felt down because for some reason I always hit a level of burnout, exhaustion, or I just couldn't switch off my brain and fall asleep. There's a scary statistic. The risk for self-harm and suicidal attempts 4 to 5 times greater for girls with ADHD. This is not about having trouble with homework. This is not about forgetting that something was going to happen. This is not about you sitting there and having a daydream. Because unlike boys, many of them showing their hyperactivity, girls keep it on the inside. And we aim all of that negativity internally. That's where anxiety comes in. That's where depression comes in. That's where eating disorders come in. That's where self-harm comes in, because you actually believe something is wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with you. In fact, it's quite the opposite. ADHD has a high correlation for people being entrepreneurs, creative, problem solvers, risk takers, the people that will take the chance when everyone else is afraid. We have so much to offer the world. Yet, we are the ones that break ourselves down. But you have to understand, you are dealing with a neurobiological disorder. This does have an impact on your brain. Most girls that have undiagnosed ADHD, do you know what shows up? She has anxiety. Of course you're going to feel anxious. Every day feels like a disorganized mess. Everything is overwhelming unless you're really into it. You will feel anxious. That makes perfect sense. If you can't control your ability to pay attention to things, a lot of us seek other things that we can control. And this is why so many of us are told we have depression or severe depression or anxiety, when in actual fact, the reason we do feel depressed and we are anxious is because we feel the need to hide our weaknesses when it's actually just ADHD. There is therapy and there is medication depending on what you and your healthcare provider selects. Too many women go through stress and self-doubt, and everything is pointed internally. Don't allow your negative inner voice to get hold of you, because there is a lot we can do, and there are many channels of help that is around the corner. I want to thank you for taking this time with me today. I'm Reese, your host, Ree-seek. And please reach out if you need help, or if you have a friend or a loved one that could use help from the Ree-seek community. Be blessed, everyone, and stay safe.